from Brazil, from Africa, and also from India in order to join us today. We will talk about the women leadership and we will answer these questions. What are the tools to foster women leadership through an African perspective? This dialogue will be at the intersections of two initiatives of the Berkeley Global Society. First, this is an African series. Our purpose is to initiate global dialogue in a fast-moving continental context to inspire new models and ideas. The second series, under the leadership of Luiza Sato, is a series on women leadership. And today I am very happy. We are delighted to have with us 5 amazing human beings. You are, each of you, representing a diversity and powerful ideas with your experiences and visions. As always, with the Berkeley Global Society, we will conduct this conversation under 2 principles. The first one, we want to have worldwide conversations, because when we talk about Africa, we want to invite people from China, from South America, from Europe, in order to nourish those conversations. And second, as I was saying, we want a powerful diversity of expertises. And in this case, today, we are lucky. We have Kenza from Morocco. We have Kernie from Nigeria. We have Anne-Marie from Capo Verde. We have Nada from Morocco. And we have Luiza Sato from Brazil. Today, Luiza, you will moderate this dialogue with me. Thank you. Luiza, you have been awarded with various awards in Brazil due to your involvement as a mentor, as a woman leader. You are also the partner of one of the leading law firms in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, named ASBZ. You will pronounce it better than me. And you are leading the GDPR private practice in this law firm. You are also in the BGS, the director of the Women Leadership Program. So thank you for joining us, Luiza, and for conducting all those projects. So maybe you would like also to say one word before starting to invite our guest.
All right. Thank you, Aubin. Thank you so much for your introduction. I am so incredibly happy to be here. I almost didn't get any sleep because I was so excited to be here. And also I'm a bit nervous because sharing this room with such amazing women, it's so great. So thank you so much, Diaz, Aubin, and all of you amazing women that are here today. So I would like to start saying that in our current year of 2021, the signs for women leaders seem positive. In politics, we have highly visible female leaders such as Angela Merkel in Germany and Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand that have offered strong examples of leadership during the COVID crisis. Also, a few days ago, the 2021 issue of Fortune 500 was published. I don't know if you saw that, but I could see that the number of women running businesses hit an all-time record of 41. Maybe I could share this screen here with you. So we have here in this year of 2021, this record of 41 Fortune 500 companies having women as CEOs, which seems kind of great, but this is only part of the story because this is still just less than 9% of all the 500 businesses. In addition to that, I received also the Reykjavik Index that shows society's perceptions of female leadership. And we have here this first one chart. It says people who say that they feel very comfortable with a woman as the CEO of a major company. So the study was conducted with the G7 countries and also a few African countries. And you can see they're not 100% people feel very comfortable with a woman being a CEO of a major company. Also, as to a woman as the head of government, it's not much better. So you see that we have like half, and in many countries, less than half of the population, including women, thinking that they don't feel really comfortable with a woman being the head of a government. As to Africa, we have here Nigeria. So people there say that 44% of people in Nigeria would feel very comfortable having a woman as head of government, and 61% as a CEO of a major company. In Kenya, the numbers are even worse. 40% are comfortable having a woman as head of government, and 47% as a CEO of a major company. Also, they divided in sectors, in business sectors, and we can see here that in certain sectors, for instance, high-tech and artificial intelligence, automotive, manufacture, we have very low confidence of women occupying such jobs. And for childcare and businesses like that, women are seen as more suitable for those jobs. So this really, although we've been a long way, we are leaders here today. We're female leaders, and we're here speaking of everything that we've achieved. This is great, but we still have a long way, ahead of us. So I think that as my final opening remarks, I like to say that every tool to empower women that is going to be described here today by all of you should be implemented in order to change this current perception that I just showed you, that women are not suited to lead or to work in any business sector, right? So those were my initial words. And Aubin, I give you the floor now because I think you have a very good question to make all of us.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Luiza, for your first words. Before asking my questions, I would like to thank our friends, our partner. Our partner in Africa is Day One and Day One Africa and Axel Jongerson. Our other partners are ASBZ, Keros, Alcor. We also would like to thank OCP, because OCP Morocco is promoting inclusion and diversity, so congratulations. Once I have said that, I would like to start this conference by asking to Kenza Margaoui these questions. What are the tools to foster women leadership? But before you answer, Kenza, let me introduce you. So Kenza Margaoui, you are Executive VP at OCP, so in Morocco. You also have a previous life as an attorney. You had Paris and New York bars. You are very involved as a mentor. So you are here to talk about women leadership, but let me talk just 2 lines about your women leadership, because I've been working with you, and actually I was recruited by you for my first job. So I can say that you are a leader because you have your expertise, you are a good team manager, and you are inspiring. But outside this box, I would say that it's something else. It's maybe, and you will tell us about it, it's as a mentor, it's also about helping the people, not just for 6 months or 1 year, but it's follow the work of the people for 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. And I know this is what you do, not only with me, but with different generations. So maybe the woman leadership, it's also about kindness, it's about mutual trust. That's it. So Kenza, the floor is yours. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Aubin, for your kind words. It's if there is just one biggest achievement is to hear those kind words, and thank you very much. Thank you, Luiza, for the opening statement, the Berkeley Global Society for organizing this amazing event that I feel very lucky to be part of, and of course. I'm so lucky to be in the same panel as Anne-Marie, Kernie, Nada, and Luiza, who are amazing women leaders, and I can't wait for this conversation to give also rise to quite constructive questions and exchange. So the topic that we're going to discuss today, discussing the tools to foster women leadership, is a great question, and actually we could discuss that for hours and for days, and there are many ways to open this debate. Maybe what I can do is share with you and with the audience here maybe what I believe are the three main tools, at least to me, that are part of quite a larger number of tools that can help foster women leadership, and that would be based on my experience and the interactions I had the chance to have in my professional surroundings. So I would say that the very first one actually starts by oneself. The first tool for women leadership is for a woman to believe in herself. That seems like quite a generic statement, but you'd be surprised how many women actually need to be definitely a lot more self-confident. You know, there is this study from a famous American university that says that when there is a job offer, men tend to apply if they check, I would say 80% of the boxes, and a woman will wait until she checks 100% of the boxes. So definitely there is this, it starts with oneself, with the self-confidence, and this actually is something that I encourage every woman to reflect upon and think about that. I think it's a major thing. The second one, and Aubin, you mentioned it briefly, I'm a strong believer in mentoring. I think it's extremely important to develop mentoring programs to help foster women leadership, and not necessarily only leadership, but just to accompany women in their professional careers. It's key, in my perspective, that they can see that other women can get there, and mentoring is about accompanying, but also trying to, it's not only about role models. Sometimes we tend to assimilate mentoring to role model. It's a lot more than that. It's also building a very trustful, strong relationship that can help one another, actually, the mentor and the mentee, into progressing in their professional careers. And there is today more and more programs that are meant to encourage and strengthen mentoring, and I think this is a quite important tool as well. And I would end by mentioning that another important tool is, of course, the environment in which a woman evolves in her professional career. I have to say, companies today are more and more interested and looking towards and working towards having an inclusive approach and a diversity, gender equality policies. And I think it's extremely important to foster women leadership. And to briefly speak about my experience, I've been very lucky to evolve in companies, and the company that I currently work in is one of them. Companies for which diversity and gender equality are key items to be taken into account in the everyday life of the company, and that goes through implementing policies, through recruitment, through also accompanying women throughout their careers, and trying to change what Luiza mentioned, and that's extremely important, the perception of women leaders, because after all, leadership is not about men and women, is about diversity and inclusion. And I think it's been well established today that companies that promote diversity, because the point is not to exclude men, quite the opposite. Companies that promote diversity are very profitable and increase their productivity. And so I would say that of course, this is an important element to be taken into account.
Good job, Kenza. I took notes because after this, I'm going to have really practical advices, to have here implemented in my law firm, because all of this is really helpful. All right, let's see. Let's go to Kernie now then, because I saw that she unmuted herself. So Kernie, I think you're amazing. You're a program manager for privacy and security. So you do something like I do, because I work with data protection, but I work in the more boring side of that story. And you work at Google, which is, of course, it's a dream for many people, right? So I would really love to hear whatever you got there. For women to know how we got there and the tools for women leadership.
Oh, thank you so much, Luiza. You're just amazing. And thanks, Aubin, for this invitation and for the opportunity to share. And it's so great to be here with such amazing women. You all will get a chance to hear each and every one of them speak. I've heard, during all the introduction calls, I was like, oh, these women are amazing. You get your chance to meet them all. And thank you all for joining. So, talking about fostering women leadership, there are many ways to think about fostering women leadership. And I decided that I would just focus on developing women leaders. I mean, you can think about retaining them and attracting them and all the things, but I would just think about how do we even increase the numbers of women leaders. We're all aware of the low stats. Luiza already took us through some of those low statistics of women in leadership, and there's even a lower number in the technology space. And there are many things that organizations can do and are doing to improve the number of female leaders in the organization. But then what can we as women do to ensure that we are maximizing processes that are set up and that we can ensure that we make the best of the opportunities that come our way? And so from where I stand, I see three pillars. The first is build up. Second is lean in. And the third is care for. So on build up, it's all about getting ourselves ready, getting our space ready, just getting ourselves in the space where we build more value in ourselves and have more to offer. And this is not solely a female quest in the sense of it. But we all, as individuals, need to build ourselves to the point where we are ready to execute. Remember, we can't give what we don't have. And so with this pillar, I believe that we need to build ourselves, and we need to build first we need to build ourselves, then we need to build our network. So how, the people we need to build our network, because networking, the people that you can access is very important. And then I believe that we need to build those around us and our immediate environment. So what does this really mean? It means that we should look for opportunities to improve our skills and what we have to offer. It means that we need to invest the time to build great networks. And it means that we also need to look for opportunity to give back via mentorship or coaching in one form or the other. And it could just be, a resume review for someone, or a LinkedIn recommendation for someone that you think did a great job. You see, there is a Nigerian proverb that says that when your hands are open, you can carry more. And so in essence, the more we extend ourselves, or the more we open up ourselves to give to others, the bigger the impact we can make. So we have to make sure that we are constantly building ourselves, our network, and others. And now the next point is lean in. So there's a book on this concept by Sheryl Sandberg. That's the present chief operating officer at Facebook. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this book. And in summary, the essence of this book, or the essence of this pillar, is about stepping up and stepping out of gender stereotypes to forge fulfilling and rewarding personal and professional lives. Now, when you get into a meeting room, where do you sit? And why do you decide to sit there? There's a saying that's going around in professional women's circles, and it says, sit at the table. So apart from literally sitting at the table, because you deserve to sit at a table, you're amazing women, it encompasses us speaking up and owning our space. We are basically leaning into our full self. And so qualities such as assertiveness, boldness, confidence are needed in the boardroom, whether we are, whatever our gender is. But even more important, when we're women, because we're aware of, the gender stereotypes. So we basically need to, implant ourselves when we're there. And many times, many times as women, we minimize the value that we bring to a meeting or that we bring to a table. And it might be because it's something that's easy for us to do, or because we just happen to know it, and so it seems less valuable for us. But we forget that it probably comes as second nature, or comes easy for us because we've gotten to a point of mastery. And so what I'm saying here is, the fact that something is easy for you to do, or you feel like you didn't have to do so much effort to get that information or to know that stuff, does not make it less valuable. So we have to ensure that we see the value that we bring, and we project that and not shy away from bringing that out. In essence, don't be your own stumbling block. Get out of the way and ensure that you shine for yourself. There is a Google initiative that is I Am Remarkable, that started at Google but is now a bigger movement. And it's really great in taking women through personal journeys, in realizing just how awesome they are. And again, the movement is this hashtag I Am Remarkable. If you Google it, it's there for you if you want to explore that. And finally, care for. This is all about self-love and caring for our immediate world, our family. Now, as women, we tend to care for others, our immediate world, pretty well, and we tend to neglect ourselves. That's just because we're givers, right? But we need to remember that we only have one body, and as much as we like to think that we're super women and act this out, we don't need to put ourselves into through so much pressure and stress to have the kind of fulfilling life that we want. My mentor says something. She says, if someone can do something 70% as well as you can, delegate it. And she also tells me, she says, you should prioritize the things that no one else can do for you first. And regularly, even when I'm working, so aside from self-love now, when I'm working, when I have 1,000 things on my plate, I think of it as a program manager. What is the one thing that if I don't do, this project will collapse? So I do that first. So apart from that, actually making you more impactful and intentional about the things that you do, it will also help you in thinking through the things that you can delegate. Do you really need to be the person to, just think about it, whatever. I don't want to, I don't want to give you all examples. You need to be the one to write that report, but someone else in the meeting that could do it. Do you really need to be the one to load the dishwasher? Just saying. You learn to try to ask for help. We have children, we have spouses, we have people around us. Learn to ask for help when we can. Again, we're not super women. We're women. We're not superhumans. We're women, because sometimes this ideology of being a superwoman, he puts us again in our own way. I think the easier way of becoming a superwoman is ensuring that you are a woman, and ensuring that and realizing that you are a woman, and doing the things that would be much more impactful with your time and productive. And then people can say, oh, you're such a super person. But please don't be the one to put that on yourself, that you want to be a superwoman, because then what happens is that we then neglect ourselves and don't practice self-love. We need to constantly practice self-love, because as humans, not superhumans, as humans, we function better and are more productive when we have time to recharge. So we need to recharge. We need to set out that time. I have time for myself every Friday. I ensure that I have this block of time. It's me time, and I found that really, really helpful for myself to recharge, for myself to think through the week and plan ahead. And so to summarize, I've been talking for a bit. The first is build up. There's the tools that I've mentioned. I said build up. We need to build ourselves up, build our network, and build those around us. And next is for us to lean in and say yes to those opportunities when they come our way. And finally, self-care. We need to ensure that we're selfishly taking care of ourselves, because no one else will. Thank you.
I totally loved it, Kernie. I took so many notes. I want to publish something. I hope you can review whatever I'm writing because I wrote a lot. This was amazing. I love the 3 pillars. All right, so next, let's go with Nada. So Nada is the regional account manager at Siemens and founder of a women business club called, I don't speak French, but I was told by a friend of mine that it's called Club de Fer Protein. Is that correct, Nada? Something like that. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Luiza. Thank you, Aubin, Berkeley Global Society, for this invitation and for this topic. I'm very excited and happy and so lucky to be with you, with Anne-Marie, with Kenza and Kernie to talk about this huge subject. As you said, Kenza, we can spend days, months, and years talking about this question. And for my side, yes, when I started to work as an entrepreneur, when I created my company more than 10 years ago, I was so lonely. So when you are entrepreneur, you feel lonely. And most of the time, I was one of the youngest and one of the few women. So I built my network from friends, from some of old friends from the university, from the high school or the business school. And one day, 3 years ago, I met one of my old friend from USCP Business School. She's leading the women network and the women alumni. And we're talking about the network, what about you, what's the news? And she told me about a network which is existing from 15 years ago. It's a supporting network. And she told me, what about creating women business club in Paris? I said, yes, we really need it. Why? Because we have many special things to share together. And it was the first business club we created in Paris. And it was really inspired by Isabelle Stemmer and supported by Catherine Torchet, who are two amazing networking women. And this young concept is relying to, as I said, a mixed network, doing a meeting between business men and business women. So how does it work? We have a meeting, one meeting or 2 meetings per month. And actually today there's 10 clubs in France with like 100 members. And we work on many points about self-branding, because women, as you said, woman doesn't sell herself enough and doesn't talk about her competences enough. And for us, it's a real leverage, and it's a real point to develop our business. We are sharing qualified business recommendation and commercial information between women entrepreneurs. And we are developing other skills than professional one. So we develop soft skills about self-confidence, about our posture, about our communication, the management of time. We share our questions about how to balance, how to manage family life, with kids, how to be, we always want to be Wonder Woman, to be successful at home, as an entrepreneur, with business, with deals and negotiation. And we need to talk with other women, and to take time together and open mind and take a step back to build a new viewpoint, and to have this ecosystem and learn more about ourselves and about others. So we do many things during those meetings, talking about business, about ourselves, about the future, and we really care about ourselves and care about each other. I have a word to share is about sisterhood, because in this network it's an important for us, because we are like a sister. We are in a dynamic world, and we are all needing to care about each other and to encourage each other to do better with men and not against men. For me, it's very important, and it's important also to focus on education with little girls and little boys, to show them that it's normal to have women as a CEO, to have a mother which is traveling and which is negotiation, and maybe to spend more time with their father, and to view, to see the value of work. I think it's a big responsibility that we have, is to show the way to young generation, and the network is a strong way and a strong value for that. That's what I want to share for the first time.
Thank you very much, Nada NADIF, for your inspiring words. I'm glad to hear that word, that there is no war of sex. What I can also understand from now, that it's about caring of each other, it's about helping each other. So the next step, it's our guest from Capo Verde. Her name is Anne-Marie Diaz Borges. You are now in London, but you are African. And yes, and Anne-Marie, you have been appointed one of the 100 most influential African women. You are working for the BBC. I know you are involved in various associations. You have different commitments. I am delighted to have you on board today, along with all those amazing human beings. The floor is yours, Anne-Marie, in order to share with us your insight about the tools to foster the woman leadership. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you ever so much, Aubin. This is wonderful. Thank you, of course, to the Berkeley Global Society for organizing such an important discussion. I'm truly humbled. Thank you, Luiza. And I'm delighted. I mean, we have people today from all over, Africa, North, Nigeria, myself from the West as well, and Luiza, who's from Latin America. And I think that a lot of the issues we're discussing here today can resonate, I'm sure, with our Latin American sisters. It's truly an honor, first of all, for me to be here today and to have Aubin. Like it's just been said now, men have to be part of this discussion. It's a commitment that we have to take together. And before starting sharing what I think about the topic, I'd like to share this African proverb that says that a bird needs two wings to fly. And I really believe that is that, you know, that bird that is Africa really needs one wing, which is the woman, and the other wing, which is the man, if the continent really wants to pretend to be able to compete on a global level. Anyone who's met an African woman will know that African women, the majority, they are born leaders. She will have 5, 4, 6 hustles, 2, 3 sources of income. And yet, the higher you climb on that corporate ladder, the less women you find. Yes, every year efforts are being made. You find more and more women in Africa entering the workforce, but they tend to stay at best at a CEO level. But we need to see more women in that boardroom, because we know that's where the decisions are being made. And it's actually very interesting to know that Africa is also the continent, the region in the world with the most female entrepreneur. So it's not a case of the women don't have that capacity to make it big, to reach that ladder. We are here, of course, to discuss what is it? What are the stumbling blocks for them? And so on average, I think it's about 5% of entering that workforce, that corporate ladder, that really make it to the top. This has to change. And of course, it's actually costing us money. And that has been mentioned. I think Luiza gave us some very interesting figures, but a very interesting fact to know is that sub-Saharan Africa, so that's just sub-Saharan Africa, not even talking about the north of the continent, loses every year $95 billion just because women are not fully integrated into the economy. That's shocking. And here I want to talk about leadership, yes, but we are talking about quality leadership. So if you take politics, for instance, you look at Rwanda, you look at Burundi, you look at my home country, Cape Verde, even Morocco is a good example. You find women ministers in the parliaments. The numbers have actually doubled in the past 15 years. In cabinets, it has actually grown 5 times in the past 35 years. But yet, that doesn't actually equate to power. That representation doesn't actually mean that much, because when you look at how that cabinet is worked out, you find that most women will tend to hold portfolios in social issues. Very often, they'll really be in that position of true power in a government. And so what can be done? I guess that's why we're here today. So for me, the tools have to be ourselves as women, and that has been picked up brilliantly by my co-panelists, but also there are tools beyond ourselves. First of all, I think that this is an issue, female leadership and empowerment, that needs to be taken more seriously. It's a mindset at the end of the day. And I really, really think that a lot of organizations and companies in Africa are still failing to recognize the importance of including women in leadership roles. And that is really a problem, because like my co-panelists have mentioned, companies that include women at a leadership level tend to do a lot better financially. So we're not just talking about beautiful ideas here. It actually brings the company more money, generates more revenue when you include women, because very often women, they'll be the ones who will make the decision. They have that buying power. And I think there was a study made in South Africa where they looked at companies where they had more women in the boardroom, and they tended to have 20% higher revenues than the average. That's huge. So I think that organizations need to, first of all, have that commitment. They need to try to understand what obstacles that women face. So once you have that commitment, of course, that's the basics. And, starting from there, you can start transforming that corporate sort of attitude. Second of all, I think that talking about the basics, we have to talk about education. And I think that has been mentioned as well. We want education, yes, we want quality education for women, for little girls. I'll give you an example. In a lot of African countries, and again, I'll take South Africa, but I think it's like 30% of girls cannot go to school when they are on their periods. That's incredible. But that means that even if you have little girls in the classrooms, the access to education is not the same. It is limited. And of course, we have to mention, and that's the case almost all across Africa, you have so many socio-political, religious constraints that we can simply not ignore. If we want to see more women in the boardroom when they're in their 30s, in their 40s, we need to keep those little girls at school when they are 6, 7, 12, 15, 18. And especially in STEM, like it has been mentioned by Kernie, you know, STEMs are the future. But yet, I remember doing a report recently in Ghana where I think it was a Methodist school in Accra that has pledged to educate more and more girls in STEM, because that's the future, but it's still seen as a male sector. Third, if we want women to basically explore that leadership and be as powerful, as free, as independent as men, we need to give them access to more money and to finance. At the end of the day, you know, when a woman embarks on her professional journey, money will be at the heart of the matter. So let's create economic empowerment programs for women entrepreneurs. 1 out of 2 startups in Africa will collapse in the first 2 years. And very often it's because they are started by women, they have brilliant ideas, they're very resourceful, they're very intelligent, but they cannot have access to finance. And so it's roughly 35 million women in sub-Saharan Africa are simply excluded from financial services. That cannot continue. Even just owning a basic bank account is a problem, it's totally out of reach for a lot of women. And if you look at small and medium enterprises in Africa that are women-owned, only 20% have access to institutional finance. So I think that's a huge problem that we need to look at, especially when it's a mom, a working mom. How is she going to be able to focus and have that brain power to think about career advancement when she's worried about paying the bills, about not being financially stable? That's not possible. And I'm going to end up very shortly here, but as mentioned by Kenza, I want to talk about confidence. And truly, that has been an issue with myself when I first started, you know, thinking about my career. I have mentorees, I interview people for jobs, and I can clearly see the different attitudes that men will have compared to women. So if a man doesn't know, first of all, he will not tell you half the time. Most than half the time, he will not tell you. He will try to kind of wig it. He will try to, you know, to make it work. But I find that when I speak to especially young girls or even women at any age, they will let you know when they're not comfortable, when they do not know. And more often than not, they will not dare. And really, that's what makes us great leaders, really, because we make sure that we know before we proceed. But very often when we start out, that actually plays against us. So I think in terms of the tools that we need ourselves to become better leaders as women, I think that we need to have that confidence and we need to just go for it, even when we're not 100% sure, because that holds us back. And finally, that sisterhood that Kenza mentioned, I think is true. I think that we need to start thinking about fostering that women solidarity. As women, I think that once you've reached a certain level, you have that responsibility to make it comfortable for the young girls, for the women who are coming after us. So as we really are becoming role models, and there's so few of us, even if there's more and more, really, that we really need to take this seriously. And I'm very, very committed and serious about that. You know, we need to help each other, because at the end of the day, only us truly know what it takes to become a female leader. And let's make it easier for the ones that come after us. So in a nutshell, I would say that things have to change as far as the society is concerned, but us as women as well, we need to start empowering ourselves from within.
I loved it, and I took a lot of notes as well, and I totally agree. I was writing here at the chat, but I think that this is really important. A good thing about the Brazilian government, we don't get to say that a lot, so this is actually one good thing, is that we have a social welfare program that is from a former government, and it's the good thing when you mentioned that women have to have access to funds, and this social welfare program that is called Bolsa Familia, I love the law that says that the money necessarily goes to the woman of the family, not the man. So I think this is a wonderful thing that I think all countries should implement it. And I love the sisterhood. I will add this to the second part, but I would love to hear Nara talking about how women act in these networks, because I think we should do that a lot more. Not only believing ourselves, but also empowering other women around us, right? Because men, they did this for the longest time. They act as a beehive, you know, and why can't we? Why do we sometimes see each other as enemies and not allies, right? And I think I should say the tools that I wrote myself, to mention here, I think we went through all of them. I think mentoring would be my first one, after education, which is something that, you know, it's a constitutional right. We shouldn't even be saying that, but of course education. But after that, mentoring, I also wrote here, male decision makers being women's allies, because yes, and Marie, South America is not distant at all from all the situation you all described here. And we have a lot of men in power now, most part, the biggest majority of CEOs and decision makers, they're all men, and we need them. We need them to be by our sides, and you know, making decisions, thinking about how to empower women and how to have women leaders, and seeing us not as competitors as well, but as you said, empowered women, they give you profit, so do something about it, you know. So I think men should really be our allies. And I also wrote here, changes in the current company's policies. I don't know how things are in Africa, but in Brazil we have I think quite a good maternity leave policy, but I think it could be made even better. And also workplace flexibility. I think that COVID situation made things run a little faster, and workplace flexibility is now something that we can talk about, because we saw that we were obliged to work from home, and we saw that the model actually works, and it actually it was a good thing for a lot of women. So I think those companies' policies should be really revised to help building this better environment, so that women can, you know, be the women want to be promoted in their companies. So those were the tools that I wrote. And Aubin, if you agree, we can move to the second part now. And we already have a question here in our Q&A.
Yes, of course, we can, Luiza. Before going further, just wanted to mention that we are diffused via different channels on YouTube, on LinkedIn, here via Zoom. So we are diffused in 30, 40 countries now. We have more than hundreds of people watching us. So welcome everyone. It was a very interesting first parties. I have myself a lot of questions, but I will not be selfish. So maybe, Luiza, I know you have some questions. We can ask with the first question in the chat. I believe it was Bezawit Asfar asking this question. So the question is the following. Do you think that if women started seeing themselves more often as human, only that it would lessen the burden associated with them through culture and stereotypes? If someone wants to ask questions, we can work on it.
Yeah, I think this question probably came off from something I said, and so I can start, and then the other amazing panelists can join in here. Let's see. I'd like to first let me even take this question apart. The first thing here I'm thinking about is, you know, lessening the burden, and then we also have something about, you know, culture and stereotypes. The first thing I'll say is we it's a process. It's not a one-off thing. It's not something you can just decide to do like one-off. That's the first thing. And then we are responsible for ourselves, and we're not exactly responsible to a large extent to what other people's expectations and other people's priorities or whatever. As Africans, as women, we are in this situation, that we're in this culture, we grew up here, or we're exposed, this is what we know. And so somehow we just believe that this is what should be. And don't forget that what we're talking about today is how to ensure that we're increasing women leadership. I stand to say, and I stand corrected, that the stereotypes and the quote unquote burden that society put on us are part of the reasons that we're not, getting to our full potentials, or we're not getting to those leadership positions. Because like I mentioned earlier, we're not super, no one has superpowers. We all have normal 24 hours. We all have, the regular ability that we have. We don't have jet speed. We can't read 150 word, 150 pages in 5 minutes. I don't think anyone can do that. We're not super. And so we have to understand our limitations as humans, embrace that, and then work towards ensuring that we make the best decision for ourselves with the limitation on the time that we have and a limitation on the abilities that we have. So here it's the question here is saying something about, okay, the question just went away. But the question here is saying something about, how not putting yourself in that, if you don't see yourself as super, that how will that help your, the stereotypes? If I believe that slowly, as I said earlier, it's a process. Slowly, as women start to individually or collectively decide to be responsible for their own outlook or their own time, or deciding, what they're prioritizing, and being more effective, being more intentional about how we spend our time and energy, and what we respond to, what we don't respond to, and what we can delegate, and what we want to, use with our time, do with our time, will go a long way in eventually shifting the narrative of what women are supposed to do in the home and in the office and etc. I'm sorry, before someone else go in, there's just this one example that came to my mind. So as a woman engineer, I first worked in Nigeria for 10 years before I left the country. And I know that every time we would have meetings, as the only woman, I'm expected to get the tea ready and the biscuits, and I'm expected to take the notes. Now I'm doing all the whole system administration work and all the network administration work. But in addition to that, it's expected that Kernie gets the tea and the biscuit and then take the notes. So question to everyone in this room: if I'm taking notes, and remember that after taking notes, you then have to sit and then make sure that you have the minutes and all of that, and then I'm now doing my full engineering duties, I'm going to have to work extra hard or harder to be able to measure up with my male colleagues. Now, I came to myself and I told my manager, I said, we're all on the same level. Let us rotate this. And I showed him, because granted, at the time, I felt like I had gotten to a place where I could show my value. And I told him, and I told my manager at the time, I said, if I stop doing these minutes, I can ensure that, you can get this and this and this delivered on time. But I can't keep doing this thing and then have all of these additional responsibilities to deliver. And he saw reason with why, I should stop doing that. And then we just ended up getting a way around it. What am I saying? There are stereotypes. It's going to be there. And we have the responsibility to shift the narrative, maybe not at once, but to shift the narrative slowly and intentionally to us, and then we owe ourselves the duty of prioritizing ourselves and our time and ensuring that we're teaching people around us how to treat us. Okay, I'll keep quiet now.
I wanted to complete, Kernie, what you said, because I think it's very important to talk and to care about our fulfillment. Because as a women, we always want to be a super woman, to save the world, to do everything and to be perfect. We just have to see ourselves as a human and to be aware about our limits and to think first about our well-being and to care about ourselves. It's not selfish, but when we care about ourselves and when we are well in mind and in our body, we can be a better man, a better mom, a better businesswoman, and we can do our job better because we're doing well and we're feeling well and better. And we have to give ourselves in order to give others.
All right, so we have a second question here. How to deal with imposter syndrome? Oh, I have that a lot. When faced with systemic gender bias and inequality. Kenza, would you like to answer that one?
Sure. I don't know if I have a full answer, but maybe I have a few things that I'd like to say on that. I think the imposter syndrome is, it's not so much a man or woman issue, you know, some men also suffer from the imposter syndrome, but women do a lot. And I would link that to what we were discussing extensively about confidence and assertiveness and this need for women to be extra sure they can do something before they can move forward. And even when they are in a company and they're promoted by their peers, some women still feel the imposter syndrome, which really goes back also to this perception that the woman has to change about herself, and that's something that's really important, and that's a real work that is key into the process. And I agree with Kernie that this whole work is definitely a process. But I would say that on this one, some more what I would like to say is that links in very much also to the needs and the importance of mentoring and networking, because one way to actually try to how to say that, it's not so much to solve, but to try to reduce this imposter syndrome is also to have this room and flexibility and opportunity to exchange with other women, and the realization that, you know, we're not the only one who feel that way is also a very helpful and powerful tool to realize that that's kind of a natural path when one grows into his or her career, and that it's important to rely also on the recognition of the company and of the peers, but also to exchange with women who have similar experiences and who can also exchange ideas as to, you know, how we got there and why do we feel this way. And this is where I would say mentoring plays a key role next to networking.
Does someone else want to add something? I would just want to say that I think imposter syndrome is a good thing, because it's I would say that because at least you're aware of what you can do, and you are in a space where you can grow. And in that sense, I would say it's a good thing. Now, I'll also say we should lean in and most of the time just go for it, because usually what happens, like Kenza mentioned, most of the time we want to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and sometimes we want to ensure that we are 110% sure that we can do this thing before we lean in. But what happens then is that we don't take up the opportunities to grow, to improve, and so we don't. The first thing that I will say is to first deal with yourself, like deal with whatever biases or whatever limitations you put on yourself or whatever mental blocks that are with you, and then just do it. I would say I'd rather you just do whatever you want to do and fail and learn from it than shy away from it.
Hi, what I would like to add actually is that really and truly you need to know what you want in your career. That leadership mindset, that powerful mindset, and that career mindset, that's what it is. It is a mindset, and you need to train yourself. I often say that the mindset starts in the brain. The brain is a muscle. And just like any other muscle in your body, you need to train it. So we've all started, at zero, all of us here and more. But what did we do? We had to realize at one point, and everyone who wants to succeed in their line of work, they need to realize that once you get out there, once you want to detach yourself from the rest, you will be faced by adversity, you will be faced by higher amount of criticism, etc., higher amount of stress that comes with the territory. That is just a fact. So if you want to achieve that leader position, you have to train your mind to be ready for that. And that takes time. So you have to be gentle with yourself as well, especially, for working moms, etc., so on and so forth, depending on, where you are in the world as well, it'll be harder. But this is something that really has to be taken into account, because very often what we see is that people want to reach the top, and you need to see what's underneath the iceberg. And that is just a fact of life. We can't sugarcoat it. So I would always advise, to really prepare that mindset, talk to yourself. Like my lovely co-panelists have mentioned, talk to your mentors, talk to your family. They know you best. What is it that you have to work on? I know that for myself, I was too kind. I was too nice. I was the kind of person who I never dared to say something bad. I was always okay with something, but that's really hard, to really, to manage people when you're like that. So I had to train myself to say no and to grow a backbone. So I would just add, to everything that's been said, that, one way to kind of cope with that, imposter syndrome is to sit comfortable in your boot. And to do so, you have to train to grow a tougher skin.
I love that. And if I could give you my personal experience, Aisha, that is the name of the asker, is that when I was invited to become a partner in my law firm, I was a senior associate. And then the CEO of my law firm asked me, okay, so do you feel 100% ready to be a partner of this law firm? And in my head, all I could think was, I don't feel even 60% ready. Of course, I'm not ready. But then I answered, no, I feel 200% ready, because I had to convince him, because I really wanted this position. And the thing is, my first year as a partner was super difficult, because I really wasn't ready. Of course, no one is born ready to become a partner. And I think it's the same as when a woman becomes a mom. Of course, she's not ready, but she will become. And this is one advice I give you. No one, no man, no woman is 100% ready for basically any new position. So, but you learn how to do it. You're going to be 100% and then more. So this is one personal experience, because I really didn't feel ready. Maybe a man in my position would feel more ready than I felt at the time, but I really didn't. But I said that I was, and then everything went great. First year, a little bit more difficult, but still now things are super great. Okay, thank you for your answers. Those were really, really good, nice insights of yours. And I think we don't have at least questions here in my Q&A, but I think I'm going to ask a few questions. Oh, you do have a question, Aubin? Go ahead.
I have 1,000 questions, but I wanted to say, to use my 2 minutes of questions. I wanted to have your insight because I'm quite happy about it. You didn't talk about discriminations. In another word, you don't want to use discriminations because you were discriminated, which is now an issue for some generations. And you can see me coming. So when I see your tools, self-confidence, helping each other, mentoring, networking, you are all, because I know your bio and I know you personally, I know that you are managing both male and females. What difference do you see? How would you help a man or a woman to be a leader or to have self-confidence? Do you see difference? Maybe it's not the same tools. I feel there is a difference, but I'm really interested to hear from you.
Okay, who wants to go? I spoke up.
So Luiza, you will have more success than me with your questions.
Okay, so how should we impede discrimination? Is that it? Or how should we act when facing discrimination?
No, I mean, we can skip this question, but my question was about what is the difference between male and women leadership actually, and how you as woman leader would you help a man to have a better leadership? In another words,
to help me to help men. Wow, no one ever asked me that question. You know, normally it's the opposite, and I really thank you for that. All right. So what I think is that, well, at least I think that we have every single person has a different type of leadership. Some people like to be more, I don't know, more technical or something like that. I really act more in a humanity kind of way, and I really like to inspire my team before actually requiring them to do something. So one advice I would give a man or a woman is that before asking for anything to your team, inspire them, tell them why whatever you're doing is important. Not for that moment. I mean, we do things that are really you know, day by day things like reviewing a contract, writing petitions. Those are really day by day work for us, but we should work on a higher purpose. Why are we doing this? Why should we care in our team? Why should we care for data protection? Why is that important? And I also tell them to watch Netflix documentaries so that they know, you know, in a fun kind of way on why it is important to do what they're doing. So I really like to lead by inspiration, and that would be my advice. And if I could tell men, if they ever ask me, you know what should I do to help women be empowered and you know, make them want to be leaders and not leave the law firm before they are senior associates and things like this. And I think that they should actually study a lot, because it doesn't matter what I say if the person doesn't really believe what I'm saying or is not educated to understand what I'm saying. The guy will just not do anything. So I think this is one very important thing to read from amazing authors like Chimamanda that I wrote in the chat. I think men should really read to get to know why mentorrupting is a bad thing, appropriating is a bad thing. And, you know, I shouldn't even be explaining those terms. They should be well known by now. So this is what I'd like to say. But well, I think we have Anne-Marie and Kenza wanting to speak as well.
Yeah, I just find it so interesting. First of all, this is a brilliant question. And what is even more brilliant about it is the fact that it's all taken us by surprise. And doesn't that say a lot, in fact, about the nature of leadership? Usually it goes from male to female. We're used to that. But then, you know, Aubin asked us, what about the reverse? And we're all sort of like taken aback. And I think that's so interesting. And that's really spot on. And I think, Luiza, you've said it all. Maybe, you know, what I would like to add is that, you know, to basically just tell our main leader to open their mind wider, to make sure that they really include everyone. There is a lot of unspoken or biases, you know, and you know, a lot of you know, a lot of CEOs or board members who are male, for instance, don't even realize sometimes that they have unconscious biases towards women and women in the workforce. So I think it's about asking them to keep you know, a wider mind, and to really be conscious of all those unspoken biases that they might have in that, you know, in the culture within their corporation, and to really take a hard look at what works, what doesn't. And sometimes it's ugly, but I think it's very important to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Kenza, you'd like to say something as well, right?
Yes, I think Anne-Marie covered quite of these important ideas, but I would simply add that indeed I think the best way to one of the way to look at it, or at least I would is to look at leadership independently from the gender, and just to try to work with whoever, you know, you're trying to give advice for a company or work with in each one's I would say weaknesses. And indeed this unconscious bias is a quite important concept, and you know, there is this say that's quite I would say it's almost from another generation, but that's quite almost anecdotic, from Margaret Thatcher, who said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. And I think it's quite funny to reflect upon that. And I would say, based on that, well, this links back to what we've been discussing together. Well, maybe women need to be more assertive and more vocal, and more they need to be heard and make themselves heard to progress and actually fill their positions, whatever that is, in the corporate world or outside of the corporate world. And maybe we want to help also men working towards being more buy-in. I think that's an expression that Kernie used, and so if we maybe if we work on those unconscious bias somehow, that would probably build better leaders for this word. That's what I wanted to add to what Anne-Marie said.
I wanted to talk about two things. So thank you very much, Aubin, for this question. It was very surprising, as I think. I see two sides or two things. The first one is about education, with little boys and little girls at home, showing them how it's hard to be a mom, how it's hard, how it's important to have those responsibility, and it's normal to work and to make business and to deal as a woman. And another side of education is at school. Everyone was inspiring by amazing teacher or a professor in kindergarten or high school or university. And we can have an impact like this with education and schools. The second side for me is in the professional area, showing and doing, showing the way and doing. We don't need to fight. We don't need to speak or to talk a lot about our capacities or about our competences. Just show it. We have to show that it's not about a smile. It's about this muscle, this other muscle. It's about mind. Last week I was talking with someone who told me, thank you very much. You saved the negotiation. You had more charm than me. So it was a man. And I said, no, it's not about charm. It's about arguing. So I had the arguments and the deal was a success. And I was very calm. I didn't went to a fight or said, no, you are talking about that or talking like this because I'm woman. No, It's my mind. I have a mind. My mind is better than yours. So it was a success. And like this, we need to, it needs time for men, for everybody to accept it and to deal with that. So we need to be patient.
Yes, and men stop saying that we're cute. We're not. We're competent. We're intelligent. I had a fight with a partner of mine years ago because he called every intern and young lawyer dull, and I hated it. And I was so mad one day, and then I said, "They're not dolls. They're super competent, intelligent women, and you're messing with their heads." So yes, totally agree, Nada.
Spot on, Luiza. Spot on. I totally agree. I mean, men, please, let's keep it professional.
Yes.
Do not call us. Just don't. If you're on the call, and if you're a woman, do not. I mean, it might be flattering when you get those attention, right? But it kind of undermines your place when they call you a doll and you chuckle or you smile or something. Let's try our best not to do that. And then what you put in your space. There's something I was reading a book. It's funny I've forgotten the name. I'm not so big on names. But the essence. Let me tell you about the essence I got from this book. It was talking about, and it's a book about women, and leadership and stuff. And it said something that surprised me. It said, in your space, don't doll it up like a woman, like a little girl. It's a professional space. We don't need to see flowers and you can have flowers and all, but you don't need like teddy bears and all this kind of stuff in your office space. Make it tidy, neat, clean, essential. And women, I mean, when it comes to, there's something about feeding people. You're not there to feed people. Take out all the cookies in your room. This is actually something, according to the book, this is something that they tell men to do when they are trying to be more accessible or more open. They tell them to have like sweets or chocolates or something to like the mean bosses, so that when people come in, they're more open. But what do we as women do? It's our default setting to feed everyone, right? But somehow that kind of deters from the value that we bring, or our essence, or the more important stuff that we can provide, like our direction, our strategy, our whatever thing that you do, like legal advice and all of that. So ensure that your space is not screaming, "I'm a cute little girl." Ensure that you're not being the default go-to person for lunch or like snacks or treats. I mean, it's not bad to have like gum, in your drawer if someone needs it or something, but just don't have like cookies all the time. Like, oh, I baked cookies and I had the leftover and I brought it to work. Give it to the motherless baby's home or something. Like, don't bring food to work to share, for the whole essence of sharing. It's not our jobs as professional women to feed the men in our office, or other women, by the way.
All right. Aubin, would you like to say something? I think we have questions here. I have one question from Genevieve. I think we have time for that one. What do you think?
I think I have one more question, and we will take the last question. I just wanted to raise one question, which is related to the article I just shared in the chat from Anne Chang. We are also here thinking about the barriers, the limit of the woman leadership, correct? And why I'm saying that, I do believe that we have another player in the game, which is the technology. So based on the Kodak case, which is in this chat, I also believe that the people coding, so here I'm talking about intelligence, artificial intelligence, about blockchain, the people coding are creating discriminations against minority, people with black skins in the case of Kodak case, but also against women. So when they are defining the criteria for the real estate or for other topics, they're also creating those barriers. So it's something we have to be aware. It's not just about the organization of the society or of your company. I believe it's starting to be complex, and it's quite interesting to see those tools, those tech tools, also creating such a barriers. So it's a remark, it's a question. For instance, you are working for Google, but all of you, how do you see that?
I think Anne-Marie also brought some data on how companies are losing money because they don't have a diverse team, and this is something that they should pay attention. If they don't have a diverse team, things like that will happen. Photographs will not work on certain groups, and we have the documentary on Netflix that is coded bias. So few functionalities of your cell phone may not work depending on how you look. So the companies will lose money if they don't bet on diversity. This is my actually only remark, but Kernie, go ahead. Or someone else then.
Oh, well, I mean, what I would like to say is that here again, it's a brilliant example of what happens when you don't have enough women thinking or creating technology. This is clearly new technologies being thought of by non-colored people and non-women people. So I think that until we actually have more women, more women A, more women of color B, into those high thinking places where they are also part of the groups that create new technologies, then they are going to miss out on so much. And it's an absolute shame to think that, African women are among the people on this planet who are the less connected to new technology. I think it's under 20% of African women who have access to the internet. And I think that figure is a little bit generous. So until we get these women onto the grid, they are not going to be accounted for. Until we get more women in leadership roles when it comes to new technology organizations, they are going to be left by the side road. And it's a shame because we know that the future is in tech. In technology. And we also know, and that's a huge paradox, we know that Africa, is a continent where new technology, digital technology, is among, has one of the greatest rates in the world. So this is really a paradox that we need to fix. African women cannot pretend, or we cannot hope to see them, taking their right place in the world until they are allowed to reach a certain level, a decision-making level where they are thought of. I think that, the Kodak case is a clear example where nobody had thought about the Black woman or the woman of color. And I think that's a shame. And I also think that that's why, the kind of discussion that you've organized today is so important, because it is about raising that awareness that is still lacking.
Yeah. As I said in the beginning, we have to change that perception, and we have to, make women part of every sector and be a leader in every sector, because it makes sense. It gives you money. Come on, companies, and governments. You saw the most diverse the governments, the better they went. So this is not a coincidence.
And it's not just about the numbers. Again, I think we've touched on that, because we see more and more women coming into the workforce, but we really want them to reach that ladder, stay really high up and really stay there.
Yeah, that's true. Aubin, should I move to the Genevieve's question? I think it's the last one of the day.
Yeah, before you move on, I made a reference to a book, then I didn't remember the name of the book. And so I just give credits. The name of the book is Why Nice Women Don't Get the Corner Office. I think that's a rephrase. It's why nice girls don't get the corner office. That's the name of the book. Everything is said in the name. You should read it. It's great. Over to you, Aubin.
All right. Okay, so
Luiza, but we are already having 84 minutes of discussions. We say that it was 90 minutes maximum, and we are trying to respect the times of panelists. Of course, I am enjoying this moment, but I would like maybe each of you to have a last word, a last comment, because I'm also watching some questions from students, and it's about self-confidence. It's how they can be helped how to take the good decisions, etc. So if you don't mind, take each of you 1 or 2 minutes in order to make a conclusion or an open statement. It's up to you.
All right, then. Well, Genevieve, I can send you my thoughts on that question of yours, because I think it's actually a good one. But yeah, I agree, Aubin. I think we're almost by the end here of time. I have only 5 minutes. Well, I don't know. My last remarks would be, actually, I'm so thankful to be here. This has been so helpful. I took a lot of notes, and I'm definitely going to write everything that we spoke here today, because I think this is super important. Women should be perceived as leaders. Women should be leaders. Many things should change, because we belong in leadership, and this is good not only for women but for society as a whole. And I think that this conversation actually it makes sense for us to be here today. I wish we didn't have to do this, actually, because I wish we were at a different point where this was no longer an issue. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And thank God I'm here with such amazing women. So I'd like to thank you a lot. I don't know, Aubin, should we give them like 30 seconds just to say bye? Yeah, so those are my last words of today. I'm not dying. And just one more thing, Aubin, we're doing this every month, actually, with different women. Of course, we don't want, we don't want you to have all that much work. But Aubin and I and Genevieve, we're organizing monthly talks with amazing women from around the world. So this is actually this is the best thing that happened to me in such a long time, to be a leader of this project, and it couldn't start better. So thank you for this, and so stay tuned, because we are going to publish information on the next events. So all right, let's start with Kenza again, and then Kernie, and then Anne-Marie, and then Nada, and then Aubin. Okay. 30 seconds. Come on.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll be very quick indeed. No, I think I'll start to obviously say thank you to Aubin, the Berkeley Global Society, Luiza, and Marie, Kernie, Nada, for this amazing event. I think that this kind of event are necessary to raise awareness to these issues. And I think the more the more we talk about the topic, the better. Diversity is today a key element in the society at all levels, from education to companies' profitability. So I will just quickly summarize by saying, keep up, and to all the women that are listening to us today, I'd say, be confident, be leaders, be whoever you want to be, and to the men, I would say, help them be there. And I look forward to the next events and to more amazing discussions around those topics. Thank you.
Great, Kenza. Thank you, Aubin and Luiza, and everyone else that has done 1 or 2 things to ensure that this happens. Huge thank you to the panelists. You guys are so amazing. It was really nice, chatting as women offline and online. And thank you all for joining, for being so engaging, for sending questions. I would say just go out there and be the best representation of yourself that you ever can be.
Anne-Marie, your time.
Oh, so first of all, thank you to BGS. Thank you, Aubin, Luiza, for this discussion. This is truly priceless. Thank you very much to my very powerful, inspiring co-panelists. I wish you all, great events to come. And to all those who follow us, I want to say that the time for female leadership is now. It's really now. We can see that trend across the globe. Let's go for it. Girls, grow your leadership mindset. It's not easy, but it will be very rewarding. Work on your confidence, surround yourself by other inspiring, powerful women. This is very important. And let your work speak for yourself. Excellence will always be your best business card. So dare to think big and become the leader that you should become.
And I want to say thank you very much, Aubin and Luiza. Thank you, Kenza, Kernie, and Anne-Marie for this inspiring talks. What I want to say is focus on sisterhood. Focus on building a strong network with a real way, and don't be your own barrier.
Thank you, Kenza. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, Kernie. Thank you, Nada. Thank you, Luiza. You have been inspiring today. You are all powerful. You have been inspiring us. You are inspiring me. I'm lucky to know most of you very well for a decade, and you are each doing a lot of work in silence. You are all very humble. We didn't discuss about it today, but this is the case. You are successful, you are powerful, you are inspiring, and you are humble. Thank you again for joining us today. This is the first series for women leadership, and we will continue to talk about Africa within a global perspective. Thank you again. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.